I think we're ready.
Are we good? Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Thanks everyone for getting this together. Call to order. Let the roll show that all board members are here except Mrs. Lawrence, who is on vacation absent. All admin members are here, and our student reps, Alyssa Arch and Cami Lear, welcome. Thank you for attending. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. We will do the pledge today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, moving to item 3, our mission statement. The Viroqua Area School District provides a quality education for all students that inspires continuous learning, positive relationships, curiosity, and compassion in an environment that welcomes diversity while developing respectful and responsible citizens. Item 4, committee report, compensation.
This is Kim. We met tonight and all the items we discussed were in closed session, but they included looking at negotiations and a staff request regarding contract issues and a looking at the wage for a van driver. So we did not take any action in committee. That's it.
Thank you, Kim. Any other comments on the committee report? All right, moving to our consent agenda, item 5. On our consent agenda, we have approval of agenda, proof of public notice, the January meeting minutes, voucher summary 1, resignations none, retirement of Mary Kay Boland, appointments, community engagement specialist Jamie Reese. The Early Learning Center director is pending, I believe. And Trap Club co-op with DeSoto. Do we have a recommended motion for the consent agenda?
This is Matt, so moved.
Marina.
I believe there is an amendment on there for bus route driver on the live version.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. Just wanted to.
Yes, appointments, bus route
Yep, under
driver,
appointments.
Randy Gabrielson.
Thank you.
Okay, so Matt made the motion, second Marina. I believe we can do a voice vote for this. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6, student board report. Alyssa and Cami talking about student activities and academics.
This is Cami. So first off on our agenda is the mural project at the high school and middle school. It's been going on for a few weeks now with an artist from the area, and she's done an amazing job so far with all of the murals that she's painted around. I know there's one right above the wall as soon as you enter the school. There's one by the library. There's another one by the entrance towards where the lockers are in the high school. And then now she's working on one going down the stairs to the lunchroom. So those are looking really nice at the moment right now. And then another one of the things going on right now is the music events in the high school. So that would be Dorian, WSMA, and Solon Ensemble. We recently just had Orchestra Dorian last week, I think is when we went. It was a good festival. A lot of kids there, a lot of working hours, but it worked out very well. And then this Sunday is Dorian Band. So a few band kids, including Alyssa and I, will be going on that as well. And then a lot of kids are still practicing for solo and ensemble, which is, I think, in a month now at this point. It's getting close for competition time.
Great, thank you, Cammie.
I'm Melissa, and I plan on going to UW-Madison for community and environmental sociology. And so far, I believe all of the student course requests forms have been turned in and completed for next year. And then all of our winter sports are beginning to go into their playoff seasons, because the girls hockey team won theirs playoffs. I know that. And I'm pretty sure that boys hockey won theirs, I think, or they haven't started. Girls basketball starts tomorrow for playoffs, and boys basketball starts next week playoffs.
Great, thank you both for those reports. Does anyone have any questions for the students? And I agree, the murals are very lovely. We got to take a look at those after a meeting the other week. All right, thank you both for attending tonight. Item 7, spotlight on education. Pat and Krista. Achievement gap reduction mid-year report.
Pat and Krista, do you guys want to share your screen, or I am ready to share if you want me to share, but then you'll have to tell me when to click forward.
Probably easier if you just share, if that's okay.
That's, I think, okay. We'll find out if it's okay, Pat.
All right, thanks.
And how does it look for everybody, I guess?
Looks
Great.
good.
Okay.
Looks good.
And Krista, you can definitely jump in here whenever you need to cut me off. Keep me from rambling on too much. But this was shared out a little bit ahead of time. So this is the AGR, the Achievement Gap Reduction. And you can go to the next slide, please, Mike. And it's I won't read all of this to you, but it's a 5-year contract, and we have to implement one of 3 strategies or a combination for all of our kindergarten through 3rd grade classrooms. The strategies being one-to-one tutoring, instructional coaching for teachers, or maintaining an 18 students to 1 teacher or a 30 students to 2 teacher ratio. You can go to the next slide, please. And then we also need to report what strategies we're using and our goals at the beginning of the year, mid-year, which we're doing now, and also the end of the year. So some of these results, and just summarizing all of them as we flip through for reading and math, we're headed in the right direction. Our goal for each grade level is to reduce the number of students scoring at or below the 25th percentile. Cut that number of students in half by the end of the year. So we're trending in the right direction. Obviously, I don't think we will ever be completely satisfied. Even if we hit that goal, we would love to see, 0 students at that lowest percentile if we could. But some definite positives, especially when Krista and I looked at last year with, after a shutdown and then kids coming in with quite a big gap. We aren't seeing that quite as much this year. And again, the gap that we do have, we're trying, trying to reduce that. So these are kindergarten reading and math heading in, again, in the right direction, which is awesome. You can keep going there, Mike. And then 1st through 3rd grade reading. These are based on our district assessments, either the STAR or FastBridge reading assessments. And again, for the most part, we're heading in the right direction. I think as a team, as a Title I team, as a elementary building team and leadership teams and RTI teams, we're all, focused on student achievement. We want students to be happy, healthy, and successful. And these assessments are one of those pieces of judging. Are we successful? So I think the focus is definitely on how we can get better. These results are headed in the right direction again, but they're not perfect, and we aren't going to be satisfied until we are. Math was the one outlier where one grade level kind of went the opposite direction, and we're going to look a little closer at all these results on Thursdays during Thursday's in-service. But one reason for that is some of those students that were kind of on the bubble just made it past the 25th percentile, slid back a little bit during the winter. As the bar is raised, they slid back a little bit. But our title team has looked at addressing that by some interventions, and we're also still looking at, we've got an intervention time this year, and we're looking at how we can improve that for all students. But overall, I think we're headed in the right direction, which is definitely a positive when we get these local results. Krista, anything you'd like to add? I know that's kind of brief and a quick run through, but.
I guess I don't really have anything to add. The report kind of speaks for itself. Our results are pretty consistent from year to year, that we'll have kind of a slide or an increase in numbers over the summer, but we'll see the reduction throughout the year. Certainly different classes, different populations will show slightly different results, but I guess there wasn't anything too out of the norm with this year's AGR report. Like Pat said, this is something we submit and talk about each year in the winter, and I believe we speak to the board again in the spring with our end of the year results. But that, I don't have anything in addition to add. Pat did a nice job summarizing.
All right, any questions? Sorry, Pat. Questions for Pat or Krista? All right, thanks for sharing that information. Yeah, the slides are great, really easy to read, and we'll look forward to the next report and see where it goes. Agenda item 8, welcome visitors, public comment. Beth, do we have?
Mike, you're muted.
I believe I've let Aaron in.
Okay, thank you.
Vicki, Aaron just got in the room. Would you like to announce that?
Okay. Yes, welcome visitors, public comment time. Aaron Kane has registered to speak. Topic of resignation, I believe.
Are you ready for me?
We are ready.
All right, so 1 second here. So thank you for all your work that you do as a school board, especially through this pandemic. You are greatly appreciated. I would like to speak on the topic of resignations in our district, the climate in our school system, specifically at the district and elementary levels of administration, is directly related to this topic. I'm afraid that the level of frustration and disrespect that is felt within the elementary school towards our staff is going to lead to an unsustainable level of resignations in the near future. Teachers have nowhere to turn at this point. The national trend of teachers looking for other work is being experienced right here in Viroqua area schools. Teachers are currently pursuing additional training for jobs outside of the district, looking for other employment, and are being encouraged by their spouses to leave the district. This is largely due to the feeling of disrespect from our district and elementary building level administration. This is most recently highlighted in the latest communication from the district regarding masking in our schools. On February 10th, we received an email stating that we would move to a mask optional policy when case numbers hit 25 per 100,000. While this had me somewhat worried, I was okay with this. After all, it sounded like it came from the direction of the medical community. Then 8 days later, we suddenly received another email saying that we're going to be mask optional. Has the medical community changed their advice in the past 8 days? There was no discussion with teachers. There was no survey. No feedback was solicited. These decisions affect teachers. Similarly, the elementary school was told to start to eat in the cafeteria together again. This decision came out of nowhere without any input. When pressed about this decision, the staff was informed that we were only eating in our rooms to begin with because of a lunch worker staffing shortage. However, this was never told to us. It was never because of COVID. This was shocking news to all the staff because we had never heard or been informed about this before. However, within 2 weeks of this change, I contracted COVID at school after 2 years of being as careful as I can. At this point, as I speak to you, I, along with 9 of our kids in our home, are COVID positive. We've had high fevers, vomiting, multiple children of mine have fainted, along with many other symptoms. We've all been vaccinated and a booster if eligible. We had to cancel a critical medical appointment for my 1-year-old with multiple serious health issues. Teachers are further discouraged when emails are sent to our families saying, quote, our top priority continues to be to keep all students, staff, and families as safe as possible while continuing in-person instruction. If this is our top priority, then why are we making a decision that will undoubtedly make us less safe? COVID is still rampant in our buildings, even if the numbers do not show it. How will the district keep an accurate internal count in an era of home testing when parents are reluctant and unwilling to share information with the school? Further, teachers do not want to work in an environment that they feel is unsafe. We've repeatedly had students sent back to our rooms all year that are very sick. We have repeatedly not been notified or notified too late about illness in our room. The policies set forth by the district do not keep us safe. This past week, after I tested positive on Tuesday morning, I could have still sent all of my vaccinated children to school. It is a good thing I did not send all of them. As they became sick during the week, they could have easily spread it throughout the school district. Just this morning, 2 of my children that were asymptomatic tested positive. If I did not take this precaution myself, they would have been at school. Had this been 1 week later, they could have been at school maskless. This could have been catastrophic spread for our community. The recent letter to the parents also stated the district's goal has always been to be in person for instruction all year long because we understand it is best for student learning. It continues by saying our entire staff is still committed to this goal. This is simply not true. I have not been committed to this goal when it goes against my safety and the safety of students and staff, and I am not alone on this. The district has never asked us for our opinions on this, so I'm not sure how the district knows what they are. This job makes you feel like a martyr for a system that does not even care about us. We are expendable. No one from the district reached out to me or my family last week, despite the fact that my place of employment has caused serious illness for my entire family. I came to work this year with a policy in place for masks when the count was 10 per 100,000. I came to work this year thinking that my district cared about me. This decision shows that politics and personal belief outweigh the safety of students, staff, and their families. This lack of respect, this feeling that we are expendable, this feeling that we do not matter will further push an already bleak staffing picture. We are struggling to fill positions this last year within our schools. This is not sustainable for hiring high quality staff. We cannot afford these resignations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments, Aaron. Any other comments, Beth? Anyone signed up?
No.
Okay. We will move to item 9, action. Item 9A, voucher summary 2. These are expenses related to health insurance. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the voucher summary 2 in the amount of $255,985.08.
Is there a second?
Amanda, second.
Thank you. Vote, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Action item B, compensation van driver. The compensation committee met tonight to discuss the van driver.
I move to approve the van driver compensation as recommended by the compensation committee. We reviewed all the area compensation and settled on an amount for that.
Is there a second? I think we can discuss a bit more after a second.
Second, Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda. Okay, any other information about van driver?
This rate of $19 per hour would be for the regularly scheduled transportation route van driving.
All right. All in favor? Vote aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 10 for information discussion. Item A, SR3 funding, Mike and Tom.
Yeah, so can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. So just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about our SR3 funding, and then also the stakeholder engagement that we did seek. We had multiple teachers, we had students, we also had community members that came together and really spent some time walking through what DPI has laid out as far as the expectations for seeking that feedback. So specifically spending a lot of our time on who was being disproportionately affected by the COVID-19 in our district. And some of those pieces that were brought up were students that did not have access to the internet at their home, students with IEPs, parents who needed support with their students who have IEPs, among many, many other people that were affected by COVID-19. We also asked what they were seeing within our district. They talked about mental health needs, social skills that have been lost during the pandemic, and essentially an increase in early graduation as students were ready to be done with their senior year. So once we identified, kind of what the group was seeing and who was being disproportionately affected, we talked about priorities to address what DPI and others are calling learning loss. So the proposal was to focus funds on the following in regards to that. So SR3 has a requirement that we spend at least 20% of the allocation on SR funding, or on learning loss and addressing that. So examples of the proposal were including interventionist title services, 4 days of full days of 4K. Pat Obert does a lot better job at that, saying that sentence. Smaller class sizes, additional resources for staff and programming, after school programs, experiences and field trips, and then elementary STEM. As far as proposing other needs in other areas, pieces that were proposed were including social emotional needs of students, such as bringing in mental health counselors and social workers, increase in student activities, extra pay or a stipend of some sort for staff, rapid testing, parental engagement coordinator to focus on outreach and training, childcare provided to the community, using our high school resource time and middle school schedule for mental health and addressing stigma, staff training on mental health, and using Bigley Pool as a better resource. So as we continue, Mike's going to talk a little bit more about specific numbers, specifically what we got, and we will be able to address a lot of these with or without ESSER funding, as we now know the priorities that we need to focus on.
So just for perspective here and what we're talking, we've said this number before, but SR3 funding, $3,349,596. We have till September 30th, 2024 to spend those funds. That's in addition to the SR2 funding of about 1.5 million and the SR1 and the CARES and the GEAR money that we've already expended. The SR2 we have not spent at all, but we do have projects planned with that. the thing that happened with that SR3, rightfully so, was, I mean, they set a minimum for the amount that we're going to allocate towards, addressing learning loss from the pandemic. And, they specifically identify, summer learning and summer enrichment programs, comprehensive after-school programs, extended school year programs, universal targeted and intensive supports based on student needs. So obviously we looked at Krista and said, Krista, all right, let's find some evidence-based interventions. And obviously we were using those in our middle school program and throughout the elementary and high school also to do that. One of the things that came up when we were speaking with the staff, extended school year programs is a really good example of something that I think we all identify the value of it. But then there's the practicality of, kids do need to get away from school a little bit too. It's if we have them here year round, both the students and staff, that's hard. And we want people to be at their best, both students and staff, when we're here. So that was good. That was good feedback from the staff that were present in that meeting. And so instead of just saying we're going to do it, extended school year, we've looked at different ways we can look at that. Anything else, Tom, that you think I should take a look at on that, or that I'm missing?
No, I don't think so. I think we can open it up to the board for questions and then go from there.
This is not the last time you guys will hear this. You'll hear more of a specific ESSER plan at our March meeting, correct, Tom? If I'm right on this?
That's correct.
Yep. So, and it will be, while we won't have every dollar figured out as to how, but we'll have, this much allocated for this and this. And there's some really good things that we're planning with this. Outdoor education, outdoor learning spaces, which includes playground. A lot of our learning of our students is done on the playground, and we are kind of lacking, in our quality and our amount of playground, both at the middle and the elementary school. So we're going to be working with some other districts to try to leverage some economies of scale to take a look at what we have and where we can see improvements and get those done hopefully at this summer or in the near future also. So things like that we're looking at. If, even, you guys are stakeholders in this too. If you think of things that, this is something the district's really been lacking on, can we use this? We'll look into it. Like I said, everyone's a stakeholder in this.
Mike, was it about $5 million in total from SR2 and SR3 for funding?
Yes.
And we need to spend all of that by 2020, the end of the 2024 school year?
Yes.
SR2 is before that, I think.
SR2, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep, SR3 is the end of 2024. Yep.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have anything to do with our revenue limit or any of those requirements, correct?
Correct. It does not impact the revenue limit. It also is an aidable cost. So it's, we're not getting more aid on those or, cost sharing or 2/3 funding. It's treated like any other federal grant.
Thanks, Mike.
Any other questions? It's exciting about the playground equipment because I know people outside of the school day use those facilities. I used to take my kids to the playground before they were even in school. So that would be a great improvement. Item B, Bigley Pool update, Mike and Tom.
Let's go back to ESSER. So no.
Oh no.
I wish I had better news. I do have good news on the Bigley Pool, but I've got to go through a little bit of bad news to get there. We had the pool filled with water, and I took pictures, guys. It looked great. I mean, and everybody was really excited about it. And then Cody called me on a Friday night and he said, Mike, the fill keeps going. We're losing water someplace. I'm going to shut the pumps off and stop filling the pool with water and just see what's going on. And basically we started losing a couple of inches a day. And we exhausted every resource we had to try to identify where it was, looking at valves, looking at, is it going here? Is it going there? That type of thing. And we just kept looking and even engaged a gentleman from the YMCA, rented some scuba diving gear, and was going to dive down to the deep end of the drains and put some dye in there and just see if we could identify any leaks. The water was about 40 degrees. He had to have a really thick suit so that he didn't freeze. With that thick of a suit, he wasn't able to put enough weight on his, he had weights all around his body to get down to the bottom. And honestly, at the 40 degrees, I don't think he really wanted to be in there that bad either. And I don't blame him. So we decided to drain the pool instead of slowly letting it go down. And after doing so, we were able to check the drains. We feel the drains are good and are not leaking. But we did identify a break in the system, I guess you would say. Kind of haphazardly, by luck, found it. But I truly believe that is where we were losing water. It's not going to be a quick fix, especially this time of year. They will have to saw into the floor of the pool and fix the pipe, and then re-pour the cement that they took out and retile the area that they took out. In essence, putting us back from being able to fill the pool. We will also be doing a full leak detection test as part of this, because we think we've identified where it is. But and that's trying to get scheduled right now. And then we should have more certainty that the leak that we are fixing is truly the leak, and that there's not more throughout. Because don't forget, we worked without water in that pool since September of 2019, because we never opened it in the spring of 2020, nor the spring of 2021. So I mean, this isn't actually, Cody and Terry and I, with our maintenance staff, we're talking about it. We expected this. We just had hoped it would be the easy thing to find, a valve or something like that. We don't know what happened, if it was with the thawing and the heaving, or when we fired up the pumps and the filters, if it just blew something that was already working its way loose. We're not sure, and we probably will never know. And hopefully it is the only thing. The agreement with the YMCA is still working through its legal and insurance ramifications. I fully believe that those are being ironed out, and we will get those resolved. And then, of course, the staffing, as soon as we can get going on that. But with the repairs needed, I think, and we'll update the website tonight or tomorrow. I think we will be looking more towards the end of March or into April, as far as getting the pool back up and opening, if everything from here forward works. That's, if you remember back 6 months ago when we had the people walk through and tell us what we needed to do, one of the recommendations, or one of the final recommendations, was at some point in time, you're just going to have to put water in and see how it works. And that's where we were at. And it did work pretty well. The pumps worked. The pumps worked well. We weren't sure about the filter work that we did, seemed to work well. Just part of the infrastructure broke down. So that is my Bigley Pool update. The good news is, I think we found the leak. That's why I said we had to get to the good news.
I like to hear the good news at the end anyway, so thank you.
Then I want to make a comment, Vicky.
Please do. I was going to say comments, questions for Mike. Anyone? All right. Item C, donations over $250. Mike, did you want to talk about that one?
Yes, this unmuting
Money.
is cumbersome a little bit, but you know, again, this we're recognizing, and this obviously occurred back in the winter solstice back in December. You know, in donation from the Viroqua community, $6,000 that went to families in our area at Christmas time, you know, for the holiday season. This was, you know, our student services team got together and came up with a system of choosing the families and allocating those funds out. And that's just a great thing that the Viroqua community, you know, and the folks at the Driftless Cafe, you know, have done for our district. We do have an anonymous donation of $600 towards the student pantry, focusing on the middle school students. You know, I think a lot of times we think of our little kids, our middle or elementary school kids, and our high school students, and rightfully so with the student pantry. This one, you know, just really focused a little bit more on the middle school, and I think that's very much appreciated. The FFA alumni, $1,487 towards the cost of going to the national convention. And the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation has donated $500 towards Mrs. Albright's 25,000 shot club. So basically any student can come into the gym. And when you get your 25,000 shots, you earn something, or they earn something as they go, and water bottles and stuff like that. And these funds come from the Randall family, which is Mrs. Albright's family's foundation. Her dad was a basketball coach over on the eastern part of the state, and really meant a lot to him. And so she felt that this was a really appropriate use for those funds, and we're certainly glad to receive them. So total of $8,637.
Thanks, Mike. Any questions about this month's donation report? All right, and thanks again to everyone who donated to our district. Tom, District Administrator Report, item D up next.
All right, so I will go through this as quickly as I can. Obviously, if you have any questions, just don't hesitate to ask. So looking at our enrollment update, we were unbelievably consistent, I would say. We're mirroring last year to this year. So since January of last year, we are at the exact same count as we were in January of last year. And the typical trend in not only in Viroqua, but other local schools is we would go down slightly from our September count to our January count. So to put it into perspective, in 2020 to 21, we dropped 16 last year. We dropped 11. This year, we also dropped 11 from that third Friday count to the second January count. So very consistent as far as those numbers go, but I thought that was pretty interesting that it was the exact same number 2 years in a row, which doesn't happen very often. Any questions on that? All right. Next, we want to go ahead and congratulate Mr. John Schneider and his retirement from the middle school. John, I know you don't want any fanfare, and I'm not going to give you any crazy trophy or anything, but we really do appreciate, I believe you're at 19 years of service and 14 as the middle school principal. I really do appreciate all you've done, and for me specifically in the last 2 years. So thank you, and congratulations on a very well-deserved retirement. All right, facility planning update. Some of the administrators met with Myron and HSR last week for a very basic preliminary kind of where is the district right now in a variety of ways, enrollment, budget, those types of things. And they will be touring the facility this Thursday to be walking through and do their facilities assessment in coordination and in addition to CISA 10s that they conducted last year, I believe. That's really our next step. We will also be meeting with them during our board workshop on March 2nd, which I believe is that first Wednesday during our board workshop to also talk about what they found, when they went throughout the buildings and talk about what next steps would be in that facilities planning process. Any questions on that? Holy smokes, this is you're going quicker than I even thought. All right. So my WASB conference update. So this was my first WASB conference, and I had the opportunity to travel and attend the conference with Matt. It was really eye-opening, and it was a great couple of days. Longer conference than what I'm used to, but it was really, really great. And I don't want to spend time going through every single thing I went to, but there were so many great things. We got to hear from some great keynote speakers, including Brandon Fleming, who is a professor at Harvard and is doing unbelievable work in regards to equity and really giving an opportunity to students to showcase their abilities when they wouldn't normally get to. Other pieces and sessions that I attended were classrooms of the future. So that was an ongoing piece that built on one another. Really just talking about the updates and the options that are affordable and reasonable for things like spaces for collaboration. That wasn't a top priority when schools were built in the 50s and 60s. Went to via other sessions that really were talking about developing strong governing teams, developing relationships, making sense of SR funding, which we just talked about, cultivating culture, and again, kind of going through selecting and implementing high quality curriculum as well. And so a good opportunity to meet with other school districts to find out and collaborate with them on what they're doing and how they're doing it and what success they're having and what they would do differently if they were to do it again. So great experience and one that I will be attending again. Any questions about the sessions that I attended? And that wasn't a exhaustive list, but that's what I wanted to highlight. Any questions on that? All right. We are excited that we will pick up our community visioning event that was originally scheduled for November of last year. And this year, please save the dates, will be May 12th, 13th, and 14th. That will be conducted and really the whole process we ran by Drew Howick out of Howick and Associates, who's a Madison-based company that do a great job at walking through this. And so May 12th will be a focus on the past, from everything from the beginning of Viroqua area schools to May 11th of 2022, and what got us to this point. The 13th will be talking about presently, where are we? How are we achieving? Where are our strengths and our weaknesses as a district? And May 14th is a look into the future. So we're going to be looking at ourselves 5 years out and 10 years out, and what type of a district does the community expect us to be? And I think that that's going to be a really awesome conversation for us to be able to continue our strategic planning moving forward. So again, very excited about this, and we're expecting anywhere up to 100, 125, 150 people to be attending this event. So please put those and mark your calendars. We know it's not going to work for everybody, but those were the dates that worked and that we tried to find around the school calendar and the community calendar, which is not easy in the spring, as we found out. Any questions on that?
Tom?
All right. Yes, Robert.
The May month is going to be a challenge from some of our agrarian friends to be able to pick 3 days and be able to attend all 3. So that's a bit of a concern that I have.
Yeah, and we were really, in general, November was the kind of the sweet spot for that. So if we were going to get it in this school year, this was where we were at. We'll be looking into some alternative ways to get some of that feedback, Robert, as much interaction as we can get from every stakeholder group. We understand it's not perfect.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Tom. Moving on to administrator reports. Jason, if you want to talk about both of your topics so you don't have to go on and off mute, we'll have staff visit to Western and winter co-curriculars.
Thanks, Vicki. So one of the things we're planning for our March in-service, we're going to take half of our in-service day and we're going to take our high school staff and go to the La Crosse campus of Western. Just to see what their programs, to get them on the campus. So many conversations occur probably on even a daily basis as far as kids with their future plans. And I think too often we don't think about it. All of our teachers have been on a 4-year campus, but not all have been on a 2-year. So we're looking to get that experience out to the staff so that they can share those type of experiences and also see what the Western campus has to offer for a lot of our students. Co-curricular-wise, it is extremely busy. For those that aren't aware, the WIA offers 8 winter sports. Viroqua has 7 of them, which is amazing for a school our size. If you're wondering, we don't have swimming and diving. That would be number 8 that we don't have, but so to give you an idea where we're at with the schedules, we actually had our first ever state girls wrestler, Maddie Zuby, placed 6th in the state girls tournament. We had 7 boys participate at sectional for wrestling last weekend, and Ethan Dobbs qualified to go to the state meet this Saturday, or this upcoming, I think he wrestles Thursday night in the preliminary rounds. Gymnastics has sectionals coming up on Thursday of this week. Boys hockey actually drew the #1 seed in our sectional and ended up losing their first round game to, I believe it was the Baldwin Woodville St. Croix Central Co-op. So boys hockey is done. Girls hockey at this point, weather permitting, will be hosting the Sun Prairie Co-op tomorrow night at the arena. To give you an idea of where girls hockey is at, there's only 1 division in girls hockey, which means there's a lot of super sized co-ops. And basically they're in the Sweet 16 round for those March Madness type of people. So, so hopefully they can pull off a win tomorrow night, and then that would kick them into, I believe it's the sectional finals Friday in Sun Prairie. So girls basketball. So breaking news, they will not be playing tomorrow night. If you want to look at the forecast up by Stanley Boyd, they're getting about 6 to 10 inches of snow, it sounds like, in the next 24 hours. So girls basketball, WIA likes to move it within 24 hours. So girls basketball has been rescheduled for Wednesday night at Stanley Boyd. And boys basketball, they have their playoff game set for next Tuesday at Black River Falls. And our hope is basketball teams can play 24 regular season games. The boys team has 21 in. We'd like to get probably, so we can get up to 3. We'd like to get at least 2 games in probably this week, including we'd like to get a home game in. We had last Friday's game. West Salem did not come down to us. We did not go up to GET tonight. So we're looking at rescheduling. Joe and I were going through quite a few different options today in different scenarios to try to get the boys a couple of more games before Black River Falls starts. So, and Kathy knows this, being in the AD's shoes. It was towards the end of the day, Eric swung down to the office, and I think he probably felt for Joe and how busy Joe's day was, but probably would not have jumped into his shoes for him as we're just trying to explore options. And like I said, we'd like to get at least a couple more boys games this week and at least one more home game thrown in there. So we're working through some different scenarios, and we'll see how the weather holds out and how we can do that before the boys hit playoffs. So that is where we are at with all of our co-curriculars for this winter.
Thanks, Jason. Any questions for Jason? All right, we'll move on to mid-year elementary and middle school PBIS. John, do you want to start? Looks like you're ready.
Sure.
Thanks.
We just continue our program on the way it is. We've gone through cycles where staff get really excited about PBIS, and other times it's just there. And there are different teachers who do a lot with it and some who do very little with it. So fortunately, we are a building, when you go to conferences, PBIS conferences, and you hear the number of office referrals and the need for all of this data and research, we do not even stand a candle at all to some of the districts. Even the Cooley Conference middle school principals meet once a month. There are some middle school principals that have over 1,000 referrals to the office already. And, you know, we do get referrals, but they're not quite like that. So our premise belief of PBIS is to try to get all students, regardless of their motivation, their ability, their skill, to be included in activities. We want all kids to be involved in the celebrations in whatever PBIS presents. So I know some students get disciplined and sometimes they're not included in certain things, but PBIS says we're going to include all students so they can taste that success and that belongingness. So that's it in a nutshell. So
great. Any questions for John? Pat, elementary PBIS?
Yeah. So kind of echoing what John said, we follow the Viroqua way, being respectful, responsible, safe, and kind. And our PBIS team and staff do a great job with school-wide celebrations, whether that's a movie day or a dance party, or a group of teachers are leading a Tuesday event tomorrow if all goes well with the weather, since it's 2/22/22 tomorrow. So there's some two activities. We acknowledge positive behaviors and document minor and major behavior problems. And then, you know, to me, a big part of PBIS is consistency across the building. So in the elementary building, we need to teach expectations and model that and practice it. So a big change was moving lunch back to the cafeteria. So we need a script or a teaching tool of what we expect students to do, which again was new for me because I hadn't seen lunch in the cafeteria until a few weeks ago. So, you know, teaching everything from how you get to the cafeteria, what we expect, voice levels and behavior in line, how you get your food, telling the lunch ladies your lunch number, what you do, where you sit, how you dump your tray. So all of that needs to be consistently taught, and then the expectations are consistent, and it makes, you know, anyone can call out good behavior or misbehavior that way. So that's one of the things that we really work on is trying to have a consistent system across the building. And then child development days, I know Kathy can jump in here as well. We're doing that virtually again this year. So questionnaires were sent out and quite a few have come back, which is awesome. We also had a Montessori Children's House informational event last Thursday. since the enrollment window for Montessori is February, we thought we better get that in, and we had 15 families attend that. And then our elementary school 4K has a similar event in May for that. And Kathy, I don't know if you want to jump in with any of our numbers or if you want me to do that.
No, I can do it. So we sent out 44 child find letters to the pre-K eligible and 32 screeners, and enrollment forms were returned. We sent 26 child information only to the 3-year-olds, and 10 of those screeners were returned. So when we return the screeners, our early childhood team looks through them, determines if there are any that need to be, of those children need to be seen, and we bring them in on a one-to-one basis instead of a group, and look for those children that may need extra services at that young age. So, any questions?
All right. Thank you all for your administrator reports. Any questions before we move to the board report? All right, Matt, you have a 2022 WASB convention report.
I do, yeah, and I'll echo a little bit of what Tom said. Overall, it was interesting this year. Attendance was down probably, about 50%. So a lot of districts not sending anyone from the northern half of the state. And then a couple had some pretty good representation. So I would say if you haven't had the chance to get out and listen or listen to the keynote speakers, Brandon Fleming was amazing. That's who Tom brought up, Harvard professor who takes inner city kids, disadvantaged kids from Atlanta and trains them to debate at the Harvard program, which is an international, kids are invited from around the world. And he's won 3 straight years with these kids. So just proving, you know, when you talk about equity and what kids have, if you have the same tools, you can have the same results. So it doesn't really matter where you come from. So that was just extremely powerful. So I would recommend that one. The other one is, what's his name here? Ravi Huthasingh, who was the lead guitarist from the band Hanson. So sorry for the high schoolers, you probably have no idea who that is, but that was interesting. He had just some really good perspective from around the world travels and what he's doing, just again with equity and doing some things there. The sessions I went to primarily focused on leadership and relationship building, which they were very good. So I would recommend those. I did have, and I do need to report on the proposed resolutions, and I had the honor of being in the room for 3.5 hours this year and seeing the resolutions. Most of them passed, I think, without any changes. There was one change for the funding for children with disabilities. And I think the, let's see here, categorical aid reimbursement level not less than 60%. That was actually changed to 90%. So they increased that. One that was really disappointing though, and it just tells a little bit about society in general and where we're at, and got a little contentious, was curriculum and professional training on Asian American and Pacific Islanders, which really surprised me reading the resolution. I didn't think this would be contentious at all. And it got into one school calling out another district to essentially say, take care of your own before you tell other districts what they should be teaching. So it just really was concerning that people were just acting the way they were acting. So The biggest concern over that, though, was that there was a concern over it being an unfunded mandate, which was pretty hokey. But eventually, that did pass, and passed actually overwhelmingly. So that was good to see. Otherwise, everything else passed, and yeah, got to spend a lot of time with Tom. We had a good opportunity, some good conversations, and looking forward to next year. So it was good.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions for Matt about WASB convention? Thank you, Matt and Tom, for taking time to do that. Definitely hoping next year we can all get back to more of the board attending. So I have not watched anything. I'm waiting for the links to be sent for those of us who signed up for remote. Kim, VAMS update.
Yeah, I had the privilege of going to the VAMS leadership group meeting, and I did go to VAMS several years ago. Maybe it's only been 2 or 3 years that I haven't been going, so I was back there. And I'll just give you a recap of the things that I think that they're thinking about and things where they're moving things forward. They expressed that they really like the Montessori rooms being near each other, and we have talked about that before, and I know Pat and Tom try hard to make that happen. They have concern that they feel they need a second assistant for the children's house, and they hope the middle school hires another teacher, not just an assistant. Pat thoroughly explained the process for determining that, and that the process was moving along, but they also needed to wait for enrollment and other things to finish and come through. They have set up 3 committees, as these are the areas that they can have the greatest impact on, and that is finance in terms of responsible growth, community partnerships, and governance. And so they were talking about that, and there are some pieces that now we've moved to middle school of the contract that are out of date. So we may have to be looking at that as things go forward. So that was about it.
Any questions for Kim? All right, before we adjourn, thank you, Cammie and Alyssa, for attending and representing the students. We always appreciate your attendance and input. And I just want to thank John Schneider and Mary Kay Boland. Wish you all the best in your retirement. Thank you for all you've done for the district. Best wishes for the future. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
Second, Amanda.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?